I never thought I'd bury a body in the Louisiana Bayou. But that's exactly what my stepson Jake made me do the night he finally snapped and told his mother to go to hell. It wasn't murder, not technically, but the weight of that secret dragged us both under like gators in the murk. And as I stood there knee-deep in the swamp, shovel in hand, I realized the revenge I'd craved for years had just poisoned the one kid I swore I'd protect. She'd always been the monster in our house, my late husband Tom's ex-wife, Rebecca, the woman who'd clawed her way into our lives like kudzu on a shotgun shack. But that night in 2018, when Tom died in that accident on the oil rig, everything unraveled. I was Hannah, the outsider stepmom, the Yankee transplant from Chicago who'd married into this humid hellhole for love, only to watch it curdle into something rotten. The hook came fast. Tom's truck flipped on a straight stretch of Highway 90, no skid marks, brakes fine according to the report. But I knew better. Rebecca had been raging in the weeks before, screaming at Tom over the phone about custody, about how I was stealing her boy. Jake was 12 then, all gangly limbs and wide eyes, the shy type who hid behind his sketchbooks instead of fighting back. I'd caught her once, lurking in our driveway at dusk, her red taillights vanishing into the fog like a bad omen. That first betrayal hit like a sucker punch from the shadows. Tom had confessed to me one bourbon-soaked night, 6 months into our marriage. "Babe, Rebecca's got dirt on me. From back when we were kids. I covered for her once. Took the fall for a carjacking she pulled in Baton Rouge. Juvenile record, but it stuck. Community service, the works. She holds it over me like a goddamn noose." He'd laughed it off, but his eyes were haunted. That secret? It was why he let her waltz in and out of Jake's life. Why he paid her hush money disguised as child support, even after the divorce was final. I swallowed it all, played the good wife, the bonus mom. Raised Jake like he was mine, teaching him to fry catfish and dodge the gators on our Bayou boat trips. But Rebecca? She was venom in heels, showing up for birthdays with cheap toys and leaving bruises on his confidence. "You're weak, Jacob," she'd hiss when he wouldn't hug her tight enough. "Just like your daddy." I'd bite my tongue, for Tom's sake, for Jake's, until the rig exploded. The official story: faulty valve, methane leak. Tom's crew chief, a good old boy named Lyle, swore it was bad luck. But I dug. God, did I dig. Hired a PI with our life savings. Poured over emails Tom left open on his laptop. Rebecca had been emailing Lyle, subtle at first. Tom's been skimping on inspections. Wouldn't want OSHA sniffing around, would we? Then threats. Pay up, or I spill how he fudged those logs. She'd blackmailed him into sabotage, turned a loose valve into a bomb. For what? To force Tom to sign over the house, the savings, everything. So she could start fresh, with Jake, mold him into her mini-me. I confronted her at the funeral, right there in the St. Louis Cathedral, mourners milling like ghosts in the pews. "You killed him," I whispered, my black veil itching like accusation. She smiled that crocodile grin, patted my hand. "Grief makes monsters of us all, Hannah dear. Best keep your Yankee mouth shut." Jake was beside me, clutching my arm, too young to grasp, but old enough to feel the chill. Years blurred after that. I sold the rig shares to keep the lights on, moved us to a shotgun house in the Irish Channel. Jake grew tall and quiet, buried in his comics and part-time shifts at the po' shop. I worked doubles as a nurse at Tulane, stitching up knife wounds and hurricane drunks, all while plotting. Revenge simmered slow, like gumbo on low. I gathered evidence. Lyle's guilty emails, a burner phone record of Rebecca's calls. But I held back, for Jake. He still saw her every other weekend, came home with that hollow look, like she'd sucked the light out. Then came the second betrayal, the one that cracked me open. Jake turned 18 in 2024, legal, free. Rebecca threw a party at her Metairie McMansion. Plastic streamers, a cake from Rouse's, and her new boyfriend, some sleazy lobbyist named Victor with a Rolex that screamed dirty money. I wasn't invited, of course. But Jake came to me the night before, eyes red-rimmed. "She's selling the story, Hannah, to that true crime podcaster. Says Dad was the villain, that you drove him to it." My blood iced. The podcast to? Bayou Betrayals, hosted by that vulture Carla Voss, sensationalist hack who'd turned half of Louisiana's scandals into Spotify gold. Rebecca had fed her scraps before. Tom's drinking problem, my outsider meddling. Now, with Jake of age, she was going full throttle. And Victor's in on it. Jake added, voice breaking. He wants the house as collateral for some deal. They're gonna paint you as the gold digger who pushed Dad off the rig. I laughed, bitter as chicory coffee. Let him try. But inside, I was raging. That secret Tom carried? Rebecca had twisted it further, claimed he'd stolen from her family, that the carjacking was his idea. Lies layered on lies. And me? I'd taken the hit silently. Let the whispers in the ER paint me as the frigid stepmom who couldn't keep her man alive. Jake begged me to fight. Sue her. Go public. But I shook my head. Courts are her playground, kid. She's got lawyers who eat widows for breakfast. Instead, I started small sabotages, anonymous tips to Voss's rivals, doctored photos of Rebecca's DUI mugshot circulating on local forums. Nothing big enough to trace, just enough to make her sweat. The tension built like a summer squall. Jake started pulling away from her visits, dodging calls. Rebecca noticed, ramped up the guilt trips. Your father's ghost is ashamed of you, boy. Victor egged her on. That weasel. Flipping from charming uncle to enforcer when Jake pushed back. I saw the bruises once, faint on Jake's ribs from a wrestling match. That's when I knew, no more waiting. The climax brewed on All Saints' Day, 2025. Rebecca summoned Jake for a family dinner, code for interrogation. I tailed him in my old Civic, parked under the live oaks dripping Spanish moss. Through the window, I watched. Victor at the head, swirling Cabernet. Rebecca in her power pearls, laying out contracts for Jake to sign, waiving his inheritance claims in exchange for peace. Jake's face was stone, but his hands shook. Then it happened. He stood, chair scraping like a gunshot. I'm done, Mom. Hannah's more family than you've ever been. You killed Dad. I know it. The room froze. Rebecca's wineglass slipped, shattering on the hardwood. Victor lunged, but Jake sidestepped, voice steady for the first time. Touch me, and I'll call the cops. Tell Voss everything. The bribes, the rig, all of it. She stormed out, sobbing theatrically, slamming the door so hard the chandelier rattled. Victor chased, cursing. Jake? He walked straight to my car, slid in the passenger seat. Drive, he said, before they come back. We didn't go home. Instead, I took him to the Bayou, that cursed stretch where Tom's ashes were scattered. Under a hunter's moon, Jake spilled it all, how Rebecca had confessed to him years ago, drunk on screwdrivers, boasting about fixing Tom. How Victor was in deeper, laundering rig insurance money through offshore shells. She made me promise to keep quiet, Jake whispered. Said it'd destroy us all. Rage boiled over. Not at Jake, at her. The woman who'd birthed him, then weaponized his silence. We end this, I said. Tonight. What followed was a blur of desperation and dark decisions. We didn't kill anyone, don't get it twisted. But we unearthed the proof. A hidden safe in Rebecca's attic, combo from Jake's birthday. Inside, flash drives, ledgers, a recorded call where she coached Lyle on the sabotage. Make it look like sloppiness, her voice purred. He'll beg for mercy. Copying it took minutes, but destroying the originals? That was the line we crossed. Jake torched them in a metal drum behind the house, flames licking high as we watched from the shadows. Victor's truck rolled up mid-burn. He barreled out, shotgun in hand. Poacher's special, illegal shells. What the fuck are you doing, boy? Jake didn't flinch. Cleaning up your mess. I stepped forward, phone live streaming to a cloud server I'd set up months back. Smile for the feds, Victor. Money laundering's a federal rap. He fired wild, buckshot splintering the oak beside us. We ran, hearts pounding, into the underbrush. Sirens wailed distant. A neighbor must have called it in. Victor vanished into the night, but not before Jake hurled the empty drive case at his retreating taillights. Run, you coward. Cops swarmed, but our story held. Burglary gone wrong. We were retrieving Jake's things. The fire? Campfire accident. They bought it. Small-town badges. No love for Victor's type. Rebecca arrived at dawn, makeup smeared, playing the victim. My baby. Those thugs. But Jake turned on her. Right there in the driveway. Cruisers flashing blue. Save it, Mom. It's over. He handed the lead cop the flash drive. This is what really happened to Dad. The arrest was poetry. Rebecca in cuffs, screeching obscenities as they Mirandized her. Victor? Nabbed 2 states over, trying to board a flight to Cancun with a duffel of cash. The podcasto? Voss dropped the episode like a hot A-to-fee, pivoting to redemption arc bullshit, but too late. The damage was done. We thought that was the end. Justice, Bayou style. Jake and I holed up in an Airbnb on Lake Pontchartrain, eating beignet and pretending normalcy. He started art school at Loyola, sketching murals of resilient saints. I picked up shifts at a clinic in the Garden District, the weight lifting like fog off the Mississippi. But revenge, she bites back. The twist came 6 months later, in a manila envelope slipped under our door. No postmark, just my name in Tom's scrawl. Inside, a letter, dated the week he died. Hannah, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Rebecca knows. About the carjacking? It was me. I did it, not her. Pulled the job to pay her gambling debts. Took the rap to keep her clean. She blackmailed me with it for years, but the rig. That was her breaking point. I pushed too hard, demanded she stop poisoning Jake against you. Forgive me for dragging you in. My knees buckled. All this time, I'd borne the ghost of her crime, but the original sin? Tom's. He'd shielded her, lied to me, let the rot fester. Jake read it over my shoulder, face ashen. He was protecting us both, he murmured. But she twisted it. The debate raged in my head, in late-night talks with Jake over a beat of beers. Was Tom the villain for his silence? Rebecca the monster for escalating? Me, for burning bridges and dodging bullets? Or Jake, for choosing me over blood? In the end, we burned the letter too. Another pyre in the backyard, sparks dancing like fireflies. Rebecca took a plea, manslaughter, 20 to life. Victor flipped, testified for a reduced sentence, spilling shells of corruption from Houston to the Keys. The pod died a quiet death, but the whispers lingered. That stepmom? She orchestrated it all. And us? We stayed. Jake calls me mom now, unprompted. I teach him to bait hooks. He teaches me to forgive the unforgivable. But some nights, staring at the Bayou's black mirror, I wonder, did we avenge Tom? Or just trade one poison for another? The Gators don't judge. They just wait. The fallout from that bonfire night rippled like a stone skipped across still water, disturbing everything it touched. Jake and I tried to rebuild, patching our lives with the kind of duct-tape normalcy that passes for healing in New Orleans. Second lines on Sundays, Saints games yelling at the TV, po' dripping mayo on the dashboard. But secrets have a way of bubbling up, oily and insistent, and Tom's letter was just the first fissure. Rebecca's trial hit the local news like a nor'easter, all wind and wet fury. Channel 6 ran it nonstop, Black Widow of the Bayou. They dubbed her, grainy mugshots flashing beside Tom's smiling rig photo. Victor sang like a canary on Jazz Fest weekend, detailing the laundering, shell companies in the Caymans, kickbacks funneled through NOPD donations. It painted her as the queen pin, him as the fool sidekick. But the real venom? The courtroom reveal of that recorded call. Jurors gasped as her voice crackled through the speakers. Lyle, darlin', Tom's slippin'. Loosen that valve just enough. Make him sweat. I testified, voice steady under the fluorescent glare, recounting the emails, the threats. Jake sat in the gallery, sketching her in charcoal, eyes hollow, lips curled in perpetual sneer. When the judge banged the gavel, manslaughter, 20 years minimum, Rebecca locked eyes with him across the room. You did this, Jacob. My own blood. He didn't flinch. No, Mom. You did. Outside, paparazzi swarmed like roaches after a flood. Hannah, did you coach him? Is this about custody revenge? I shoved through, Jake's hand in mine, tasting bile. The controversy exploded online. Bayou betrayal trended, splitting the internet into camps. Stepmom vigilantes cheered me as the underdog avenger. Rebecca's enablers cried, alienation syndrome, painting Jake as brainwashed. Trolls doxed our address, spray-painted Yankee Witch on the mailbox. We moved to a Creole cottage in Bywater, rainbow murals masking the scars. Jake threw himself into his art, murals of fractured saints and submerged rigs popping up on warehouse walls. I took a leave from the clinic, started a victim support group. Ironic, huh? Widows and kids sharing war stories over chicory and beignet. But sleep? It evaded me, chased by dreams of Tom's truck crumpling, Rebecca's laugh echoing like Zydeco off the levees. The next flip came from an unlikely quarter. Lyle, the crew chief, released on parole after cutting a deal, testified against Victor for time served. He showed up at my door one drizzly afternoon, ball cap low, six-pack of Dixie in hand. Miss Hannah, I owe you. His eyes were bloodshot, hands trembling like he'd seen the devil. Turns out, Guilt had gnawed him hollow. Rebecca had me by the short hairs, debts from his casino runs. But Tom, he knew, forgave me before the end. We sat on the porch swing, rain pattering on tin, and he spilled more. Tom's final shift, he'd cornered Lyle in the galley. Fix it, brother. For Jake. But the valve stuck, sabotage turned slaughter. Lyle sobbed then, ugly and raw. I covered for her 'cause she promised to leave the boy be. Lied through her teeth. I didn't absolve him, couldn't. But I didn't call the cops either. Instead, I handed him a beer. Write it down. Affidavit. For the appeals. He did, and it buried Rebecca deeper. No parole whispers now. But that mercy? It cost me. Jake found out, confronted me over gumbo one night. You let him walk? After what he did to Dad. He's broken, Jake. Like us. My voice cracked. Revenge ain't a straight shot. It's a bayou, full of bends. He stormed off, sketching furiously in his room. Days later, he emerged with a piece. Me and Lyle on the porch, shadows merging into gator shapes. We're all monsters, he said. Just different hides. The tension peaked when Victor's ghost reared up. From a low SEC joint in Angola, he smuggled out letters, poison pins to Jake, via a cousin. Your mom's the real killer, boy. She pushed Tom to drink, to fight. Lies, but laced with half-truths. Tom's gambling, mirroring Rebecca's. I'd found stubs in his wallet once, ignored them for love. Jake burned the letters, but doubt festered. What if she's right? What if we both lost him? I pulled the full confession then. Tom's letter, creased and faded. Read it aloud by crawfish boil light, boils popping like accusations. Jake's face twisted, fury, grief, a dawning horror. He lied to protect her? After everything. Yeah, and I lied to protect you. The words hung heavy as humidity. He punched the wall, plaster cracking like his voice. Then why fight her? Why not let it rot? Because some poisons you gotta excise, even if it bleeds. We hugged then, awkward and fierce, the kind of embrace that stitches souls. But the real storm hit mid-trial appeal, 2026. Rebecca's lawyer, a slick Harvard import named Ellis, dug up dirt on me. Front page gambit, stepmom's secret, Chicago felony cover-up? Turns out, back in my Windy City days, pre-Tom, I'd shoplifted diapers for a strung-out sister. Petty theft, expunged, but Ellis spun it gold. Pattern of deception. Unfit guardian. The controversy ignited anew. Talk radio frothed. Is Hannah the hero or the hustler? Protests outside the courthouse. Feminists in pussy hats clashing with Mothers Matter signs. Jake testified again, voice cracking but clear. She's the only mom I've got. Rebecca? She's the thief of everything good. The judge tossed the appeal, but the damage lingered. Jake dropped a class, hold up sketching. I faced the group, widows staring. Am I the villain here? One nodded slow. Depends on the light share. Decisions piled like storm debris. Do I sue Ellis for defamation? Expose my past fully? Or let the mud settle? I chose the controversial path. Went on Voss's podcast, The Viper Who'd Nearly Sunk Us. No more shadows, I told her, live on air. Spilled it all. Tom's lie, my theft, Rebecca's web. Listeners split. Some hailed transparency. Others cried confession booth for clicks. Ratings soared, but Jake? He listened from the kitchen, radio static. You gave her the win. Hurt laced his words. No, kid. I gave us the truth. But doubt gnawed. Had I flipped like Victor, trading integrity for spotlight? The Bayou called us back that solstice, full moon high and mocking. We boated out, lanterns swinging, and scattered wildflowers where Tom's truck sank. Jake whispered prayers, half Catholic, half heathen. Forgive us our trespasses. As we drifted, a gator surfaced, eyes glowing amber. Jake laughed, first real one in months. Dad's watching, telling us to quit the drama. Back home, another envelope waited, not Tom's ghost, but real, from Angola. Rebecca's scrawl. Jacob, I'm sorry. For the poison. Hannah was right to fight. Tell her. I envied her strength. Postscript. Victor's flipping again. Watch your back. We burned it, but the warning stuck. Turns out, in the joint, Victor charmed the guards, cut deals for early out. Whispers of witness tampering, hits on loose ends. My name topped the list. The tension coiled tight as a spring. Jake insisted on self-defense classes, kickboxing in a Ninth Ward gym, sweat and grunts echoing off cinder block. I loaded up on pepper spray, slept with a .38 under the pillow. Paranoia? Or prudence? The line blurred. Then the night it broke. Tires screeching outside. 2 a.m. shadows in the yard. 2 goons, tats peeking from collars. Victor's handiwork. Jake woke first, grabbed the bat from his closet. Stay down. I didn't. We barricaded the door, hearts hammering, called 911. They smashed a window, glass shattering like Rebecca's wineglass years back. But Jake? He swung wild, connected with a knee. I fired warning shots, ceiling plaster raining. Sirens wailed, goons bolted. Cops hauled in one, the other pinched at a quarter motel. Victor? Remanded, shank privileges revoked. In the aftermath, Jake bandaged my scraped knuckles, voice soft. We make a hell of a team. I nodded, throat tight. Yeah, but at what cost? The debate echoed in therapy sessions. Jake's idea, a neutral ground with a French Quarter shrink. No one's clean, she said. Revenge cycles, but so does grace. We argued it out. Tom's lie a betrayal or bomb. My testimony heroism or hubris. Rebecca's letter contrition or con. As summer sweltered into fall, the controversy cooled. Voss's follow-up EP? Heroes or hypocrites? Spark bar fights and book club wars, but we tuned out. Jake's mural, a Bayou phoenix, rising from muck, graced a Marigny gallery. I rejoined the clinic, stitching with steadier hands. Yet the twist lingered, unspoken. What if Victor's hit was Rebecca's final flip? From cell block queen to puppet master, pulling strings for one last lash. No proof, but the gators in my dreams were her smile. Winter crept in soft, like regret after Mardi Gras. Confetti swept away, leaving only the grind. Jake and I settled into a fragile rhythm. Him at Loyola, charcoal fingers smudged from all-nighters. Me clocking OT at the ER, triaging flu fevers and bar brawls. The cottage felt like sanctuary, wind chimes tinkling Catholic hymns, but safety's an illusion in the Crescent City. Hurricanes of the heart don't announce, they just flood. Victor's remand bought time, but whispers slithered through the vines. Appeals, bribes, a lawyer's slimy pivot. Rebecca stayed caged, her letters tapering to silence, either reformed or regrouping. Jake monitored from afar, hacking her commissary account for scraps, romance novels, scented soap. Trying to wash it off, he'd mutter, deleting the logs. My own ghost stirred. Tom's letter, tucked in a lockbox, haunted like a bad debt. I'd borne his secret as my own, shouldered the blame for a crime that wasn't mine. But digging deeper, late nights with microfilm at the public library, uncovered more. The carjacking? Tom's solo act. Yeah, but Rebecca's debts? Fueled by pills, swiped from her pharmacy job. She'd framed him early, testing the noose. He took the fall to keep me. Her old emails gloated to a dealer. Betrayal nested like Russian dolls. I shared it with Jake over praline's one gray afternoon, rain sheeting the windows. His fork paused midair. So Dad was her shield, and we became his. The question hung, bitter as burnt sugar. He pushed back. Doesn't excuse her. Or Victor's goons. No, but it explains the flip-flops. She's chaos, kid, runs from truth like roaches from light. We debated till dusk. Was mercy for Lyle a mistake, or the moral high ground? My podcast mea culpa, vindication, or vanity. The shrink called it gray space, but it felt like quicksand. The next betrayal blindsided from within. Jake's girlfriend, Mia, a firecracker art major with sleeve tats and a laugh like shotgun blasts, dropped the bomb over crawfish at Clessy's. Babe, your mom's reaching out. Through me. Rebecca had friend her on Insta, DMs dripping honey. Help me understand my boy. Share sketches. Mia, starry-eyed idealist, bit, sent one, a Bayou saint I'd posed for. Jake exploded, chair toppling. You're her puppet now? Mia teared up. She's human, Jake. Says prison changed her. AA meetings, Bible study. I pulled him aside, heart sinking. Let her go, son. Blood calls to blood. He didn't. Broke it off clean, but the seed rooted. Weeks later, Mia texted him a photo. Rebecca in orange, clutching a cross, caption, forgive to be forgiven. Jake deleted it, but I saw the crack. Doubt, that old enemy. Tension ratcheted as spring bloomed reckless. Victor's appeal hearing loomed. Ellis arguing coerced testimony. Protests reignited. Free the Bayou framed him as fall guy, Rebecca as wronged queen. Online sleuths unearthed my Chicago file, twisted it. Hannah's heist funded the marriage. Trolls camped our doorstep, eggs splatting at midnight. Jake flipped then, controversial as a saint's kneel-in. We go public, your side. He pitched a docuseries to a French Quarter producer, Bayou Requiem. I balked. More circus? We're healing. It's catharsis, Mom. End the debate on our terms. His eyes pleaded, shy boy no more, but a man wielding truth like a blade. Against my gut, I agreed. Filming started. Me on the Bayou boat, recounting the fire. Jake in the courtroom sketch, voiceover on Tom's letter. Raw, unfiltered, America's obsession fodder. The drop hit like a levee breach. Streaming on Prime, reviews split the nation, gripping redemption versus exploitative trash. Water cooler wars erupted. CNBC panels debating family versus fealty. Jake's phone buzzed endorsements from celebs. Mine, threats from Victor's crew. Climax crashed on Fat Tuesday, 2027. Parade fever gripped the quarter. Beads flying, brass blaring when the Saints. We watched from a Bourbon Street balcony, masks hiding scars. Then Mia appeared below, weaving through doubloons, arm in arm with Rebecca, out on compassionate release. Cancer, stage 4, Ellis's Hail Mary. My stomach dropped. Jake froze, mask slipping. How? Parole board, expedited for rehab potential. She played the victim card masterfully, testimonials from chaplains, even Lyle's affidavit twisted. She's paid. Chaos erupted. Rebecca spotted us, waved frail, chemotherapy gaunt, but eyes sharp as ever. Jacob, Hannah, crowd parted. She ascended stairs, Mia trailing apologetic. Up close, she was Spectre. Wig askew, voice reedy. I had to see him. One last time. Jake's fists clenched. You sent the hit, didn't you? Victor's dogs. She gasped, theatrical. No, I'd never. But her eyes flicked to Mia, a tell. The confrontation ignited, beads scattering like spent shells. I stepped in. Save the act, Rebecca. Tom's letter? Your debts? We know the nest. She wilted, tears real this time. I was drowning. He saved me once. I thought I could save us all. Lies cracked under scrutiny. Mia confessed. She promised stories for my thesis. I believed her. Jake turned on her, voice thunder. Get out. Both of you. Rebecca clutched the rail, coughing blood-flecked. Please, son. Forgive. The crowd below hushed, phones up, live drama for the gram. Jake's decision hung. Shove her away, or pull her in. He wavered. Face a war zone. You killed my dad. Broke us. Pause. Eternal. But, cancer's a bitch. Go home. Die quiet. She crumpled, Mia helping her down. Sirens wailed distant. Another OD in the alley. We fled the balcony, hearts raw. The twist landed post-parade, in a notary's office. Rebecca's will, overnight courier, everything to Jake, the Metairie house, offshore scraps Victor missed. Note attached. You won, Hannah. Raise him right. But the kicker? A codicil. Expose Victor's full web. For Tom. Feds pounced. Raid on Ellis's firm. Shells cracking wide. Victor got life. No appeals. Rebecca? Slipped away in hospice, whispering Jake's name. No funeral. We scattered her ashes in the bayou. Anonymous. Gators claiming the last flip. Debate rages still. Heroic end. Or manipulative exit. Jake says grace. I say grudge. Mia? Faded to Brooklyn. Thesis unpublished. The docuseries won Emmys, but we donated proceeds to rig widows. Now, summer 2028, Jake's graduating, cap and gown by the levee. I watch him sketch the horizon, Mississippi churning secrets. We write, he asks. Close enough. Revenge's arc bent us, but didn't break. In America's underbelly, that's victory, flawed, fierce, forever argued.